It actually dates back to like when I was a kid. They had this thing at school called LAP, which is late arriving parents. So, so basically all the all the single parent kids and all the what I mean. We're all there. So from grade 3, grade 4, I remember people with the cardboard breakdancing and like especially it was a very very multicultural. Like there was definitely like during those programs, probably white kids were the minority in that thing. So a lot of people were like everyone was listening to hip hop, like what I mean, just from the start. Like I just started from like I remember the first cassette I ever bought was Eric B and Rakim Paid in Full in 1986. I mean, I was like a kid. I was like 8 years old at that point, like 7 years old, whatever. And so it's just from the jump, it was just always like music in general, but hip hop especially was just there from the start. And it just I started with that, and to this day I still run with it. You know what I mean? So I loved it from the first moment I heard it.
You're listening to the Grind and Gratitude Show.
Welcome to the Grind and Gratitude Show. If this is your first time tuning in, thank you so much. If you're an avid listener in one of 55 or so countries, you already know I got a lot of love for you. And as always, every time that I bring you a guest, it's somebody that I admire, somebody that I believe in, someone that I know can really add value to your life. And this is no different. I have a very special guest, super excited to kind of have him here and introduce him to you. And I just want to quickly tell you a little bit about him, because this guy has done so much. Like, he sent me some information, and in my research, I was like, wow, he's done so much. So DJ Ritz is a significant part of Toronto's nightlife and radio life. And he's been doing this for 20 years, but I think it's more than 22 years, because in my research, I know it's almost 23 years that he's been a DJ.
Yeah, that bio is the pre-COVID one. I've actually been looking to update it in a second.
Okay, so there you go.
You gotta add 2 years, and that's professionally. Obviously, I've been DJing longer than that.
There you go.
So,
for more than 22 years, man, you've worked with everybody. You've worked with Richard Branson, the Toronto Maple Leafs, the Raptors, the Blue Jays, the Argos, LeBron James, Cardi B, Ludacris, Jazzy Jeff, who's a legend in the DJ world, Wu-Tang, and so many more people. We hear you on 2 different radio stations. I met you on Flow 98.7.
Yeah, big up Jay Martin.
And you've done so much in your career. So welcome to the Grind and Gratitude Show, brother.
Thank you, man. Thank you for having me. And I'm also a fan of yours. So this is actually really great. Since we met on the morning show, big up Jay Martin, mutual friend of ours and host of the morning show on Flow as well. What I mean? It's been like, like I said, I've really dug your groove, and I'm really like, I really like what you're doing. So I'm happy to be here.
I appreciate that, man. And yeah, speaking of that, like, we met through Jay Martin, and I had an opportunity, and I had heard of you a while ago. Years ago, I heard your name come up, and I remember listening to a few of your DJ mixes. I was like, yo, this guy's nice. I like the way that he DJs.
Thank you.
And then I had the opportunity to meet you when I came up to the radio station, and definitely really dug into what you're doing and stuff. So, like, the first question I got is like, really, when do you sleep? Because you're doing so much.
Nowadays, like, I've done radio for, over 20 years and stuff. But now that I do the morning show on Flow, and once again, big up Jay, big up Red, it's a whole different. I've never woke up in mornings in my life, like ever. Like, for the last, for my whole career of DJing, which is 20 plus years, I've never done mornings in any capacity. I've been like a wake up at noon kind of guy. So it's been like a real, like, the first couple months were really hard, and there's some weeks that are really hard and stuff, but I'm getting kind of a grip on it and stuff. But it's like the sleep nowadays is, oh man, it ain't much. And especially this summer with everything being back open after COVID, it's like, it's nonstop, man. Like, what I mean? It's 5 days of radio, 5-6 days, parties or events. So it's a lot, man. But what I mean? I'm just blessed to be working, so I'm not complaining.
Yeah, definitely. I know a lot of DJs, and none of them wake up before noon. So you being on a radio show every morning from 6 to 10, I'm sure that that's a challenge, especially when you're DJing over the weekends.
Yes.
So man, so tell me, like, in terms of like radio, what do you really like about being on the radio, 5 days a week? What do you like about that?
I think like the best part is just you're constantly in people's faces. So it's like you have a different connection. Like doing like just mixes or once a week. Like you connect with people, obviously, but that every day, and especially in the morning, everyone in the morning kind of like they listen almost every day because usually in the morning you're going to work. It's a routine. So we become a part of your routine and we can become a part of your life almost. So it's a really different connection doing a morning show than, doing mixes or nighttime and stuff like that. I've done every time of the day, but this morning show is a different kind of like way to connect with people.
Yeah, I love that. So before we kind of jump all down your career, because you've had an amazing career. Like, where did you grow up, and what was growing up like for you?
I grew up in like for people to know, like, Don Mill Shepherd area, like Peanut Plaza, kind of that area, you know what I mean? Like
In Toronto.
yeah, in Toronto, yeah, absolutely. You know what I mean? Like lower income area, you know what I mean, single mom, all that business. So you know what I mean? Like growing up, like, when you look back on it, you're like, man, we didn't have all that much, but when you in the time you don't think of it. You know what I mean? In the time it's just fun, you go out. I have a younger brother, so we were always really close and stuff. And with my mom working a lot of the day and stuff, we were left alone a lot. So, you know what I mean? We had a lot of time to kind of, thankfully get into trouble, which we didn't really. My brother was a little more, a little more into that stuff than I was. But, you know what I mean? Like, just, growing up like that is like, is and being around every culture, which was the best thing ever. So by the time I was in grade 3 or 4, I had black friends, brown friends, this friends, that friends. So, you know what I mean? That's the beauty of Toronto, essentially, right? Is you kind of get to grow up with all cultures and all stuff, which kind of relates to what my music, you know what I mean? Is like, I play all types of music because, I've been exposed to it from a young age, thankfully.
Yeah, that's great. I grew up in Nova Scotia, so I missed all of that diversity. I grew up around a lot of black people and a lot of white people and a few Lebanese. And then I was always coming back and forth to Toronto because I played basketball and I was into music and stuff, DJing, and that's kind of what really exposed me. And I realized how diverse Toronto really is.
Yeah.
And it just exposed me to even more music and culture. So I can definitely get what you're saying. Like I can only imagine growing up in that environment, how exposed you were to different cultures and music.
It was amazing. It was amazing. Amazing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, yeah, definitely amazing.
So where did your love for music come from? Like, how did you did you always have a love for music, or was it something just happened one time, or how did that come about?
It actually dates back to like when I was a kid, they had this thing at school called LAP, which is late arriving parents. So, so basically all the, all the single parent kids and all the, you know what I mean? We're all there. So from grade 3, grade 4, I remember people with the cardboard breakdancing and like, especially it was a very, very multicultural. Like there was definitely like, during those programs, probably white kids were the minority in that thing. So a lot of people were like, everyone was listening to hip hop, like, you know what I mean? Just from the start, like I just started from like I remember the first cassette I ever bought was Eric B. and Rakim Paid in Full in 1986. Ooh. You know what I mean? I was like a kid. I was like, 8 years old at that point, like 7 years old, whatever. And so it's just from the jump, it was just always like music in general, but hip hop especially was just there from the start. And it just I started with that. And to this day, I still run with it. You know what I mean? So I loved it from the first moment I heard it.
Yeah, I mean, every music is everything for me. Yeah. Some people know, some people don't, but like music was everything. My grandparents were Jamaican immigrants, and they came to Canada in the 60s. So I remember my granddad had his old record player and 8-tracks set up in the basement. Nice. And he had, all the old reggae and Marvin Gaye and everything. And I just remember just going down to the basement and just going through all the records and the 8-tracks. And so I like music is my whole life. My whole life is a soundtrack. If you say an artist, I can tell you what I was doing at that time.
Yeah, same here.
So I'm like you when it comes to like to music and just like loving the genre and stuff like that. So you always were around music, and then like how did you kind of transition into like DJing a little bit and starting to get into playing music? How did that happen?
That was pretty much by the time high school came, like we were fully like hip hop heads, just engulfed in the culture, everything. Reggae also big time, there. When I got to junior high school, a lot of kids were into reggae and stuff, so I started getting into that. All the original, like, Ninja Man and Super Cat and, on and on and on. So it was like I just realized like I can't rap, I can't sing. You know, my dance moves are just I bop. You know what I mean? So it just I just wanted to be a part of the culture so bad that it was just kind of DJing was just it. So when I hit grade 10, I worked the whole summer. Like I sacrificed my whole grade 10 in summer. And as a 15, 16-year-old, that is the worst thing ever. So I worked 6 days a week, 8 to 12-hour days, and I saved all summer. And then at the end of the summer, I spent every single penny I owned. I bought a mixer, I bought 2 turntables.
Wow.
And the rest of the money I bought I bought records. So I remember at the end of the summer, my mom was like, "Okay, give me the money. I'm gonna put it away for you." And so my mom, there's no money left. She's like, "You have no money left." I have zero. I spent every single penny. So I started off grade 10 broke, but I was a DJ. So I was like, give and take, I guess.
That sounds like me. I was a broke DJ for a while too.
Oh yeah, big time. My mom used to give me $5 twice a week for thing, and I would save it in high school and then go buy a record. You know what I'm saying? Wow. So it was just like, it got to the point like my grandmother for like my birthday and stuff would give me money to go buy clothes. I'd just go buy records. Wow. So it got to the point where she wouldn't give me money anymore. She would take me to go buy clothes because she would need some clothes. It was just anything to get money for records. You know what I'm saying?
So you were just DJing in your house and your bedroom and just playing music and messing around?
The best, man. Yeah, just like hours and hours a day. Like a lot of like younger DJs I talk to now, it's like how much you practice, and they don't, you know what I mean? They practice, you know what I mean? Like what is like I'm talking like 6 hours a day. Like if I wasn't going out on a Friday night or Saturday night in high school, I would stay at home and pretend I'm at a club, and I would play from 10 to 3 and like work my records and stuff.
Me too.
Yeah, right. So it's like you kind of like imagine, if I'm in the club because I'm not going out. So you you just practice, like so many hours of practice. It was crazy. It was just that's all my memories from back then. My room was a bed, a TV, and records and equipment.
Like I just used to mess around with music, and I bought some equipment and then started kind of just DJing. Same thing in my basement, and I used to open for just local guys. Like one of my friends, DJ Mo Bounce, he's actually a principal, and he's a principal of a junior high school, and he still DJs on the weekends.
Does he DJs his own dances or what?
Yeah, no, I think he might, but I know he still DJs at a club. I think.
Oh wow, good for him.
And I don't know if you know another guy, Mark Mirage.
Yeah, I've heard of him. Yeah.
Mark Mirage. He's from up here. He used to be a great DJ. So I just used to open for those guys. But
nice.
I think with DJing and the love for music, like what do you think DJing kind of did for you, like personally?
I would say, for lack of better terms, like saved and made my life. You know what I mean? Like unfortunately, I didn't get a high school degree. I didn't really pursue much education. As soon as I found music, it was done. Everything was done outside of that. You know what I mean? Which, I do regret some parts that I probably put to the wayside that I shouldn't have. You know what I mean? But yeah. It like literally gave me purpose. Like I've never liked anything else but music. Like I'm not like a super, like my wife always like kills me because she's like, yeah, you don't like enough stuff. It's like, you know what I mean? Like I just kind of came in with plan A without a plan B in sight. And you know what I mean? Thankfully, knock on wood, it worked out. But you know what I mean? It was just like, as soon as I found music and hip hop and specifically, it just changed everything. And that was it. It was tunnel focus. I have to do something in this genre.
I think that's a good lesson for a lot of people listening, because, you were brave enough to pursue it and maybe, at the cost of somewhat of your education at some point, but like,
and friendships. And friendships.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So you were just so dedicated. So like, what would you say to someone right now? They might be passionate about something and they're just afraid to kind of make that leap. You went all in. And it paid off big time for you. I mean, you're internationally known. You shared the stage with the biggest artists in the world. You're on, different radio platforms. So what would you say to someone right now who's kind of like, I'm passionate, but I don't know if I should go all in? Like, what kind of advice would you give them?
Well, I think it's very important to see the climate of what you're doing. Like, you know what I mean? Because when I talk to younger DJs, and I do this all the time, people hit me up for advice all the time. And I'm more than happy to, give advice. When I came up, it was a whole different world, right? So if it was DJing, I would probably give a different kind of slant, because the time I came up, everything's turned, everything's different, as you know. So that, you know what I mean? So I think you have to take a realistic look at what you're doing. Do you have the skill set? Because, you know what I mean? I wanted to be a baseball player when I was young, but, you know what I mean? I didn't have the goods. So thankfully I could have tried as much as I want. It wasn't happening. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I think first off, you need to be a little realistic. It's always good to shoot for the stars, absolutely. But, there's still some God-given talent you need, and, and certain things that kind of make sense. Like if you want to be a basketball player and you're 5'2", I'm not saying it can't happen, but you know what I'm saying? Like you might want to, you know what I mean? So I think, DJ wise, I definitely think that, it's changed, and you probably want to have a plan B at this point, you know what I mean, for DJing. But as far as just, anybody into anything, like I think if you are smart about it and you really take an honest look at it from yourself, you know what I mean, and see really like, do I have the goods? And if you know what I mean, like, that's comes from, people telling you, yo, you're amazing, you're really good, you have a gift, or you have something, you know what I mean? Like you have to have something regardless in whatever you're going for. So I think if you just take a realistic look at yourself, and if you feel that, you know what I mean, like if you really think that the ducks all aligned, then, go for it. You know what I mean? Like we only live once, so there's nothing better than doing what you love. Like that's the ultimate, the ultimate goal in life, in my opinion.
Yeah. And as you were going through, like, did you have people in your life who were kind of doubting you and saying, this is crazy? And, when you dropped out of school, I'm sure people were kind of doubting you, or did that happen to you?
I'll be honest, not really. Cause like I came, like, by the time I was in grade 7 and stuff, I was fully in. So it was like, people just expected it. It just, it was what it was. You know what I mean? Like, it's like by the time high school was, I was like one of the DJ guys, like, and anything music, oh, it's Ritz, or, you know what I mean? I'm selling my mixtapes, like mixtape actually, you know what I mean? In high school stuff. So, you know what I mean? Because I got started young, by the time I was a teenager, it was already like moving, and it was already like predetermined at that point. So I knew from like probably 14, 15 that this thing's going to go down.
Wow, that's amazing. So where did you get your name DJ Ritz from?
Funny enough, when I think it was, when we were in like maybe grade 7 or 8 or something, and we're just all sitting around and we're like, yo, we need names. And, Ritz Cracker. And then you can kind of use the last word and then kind of look at me, and then kind of, you know what I mean? It kind of came out of that. So, it was kind of like, a little, I guess, a little racist undertones, and then, you know what I mean? And then it just kind of stuck, you know what I mean? It was either that or DJ Kraft with a K, like Kraft Dinner.
Right.
Which thank God I didn't go with, you know what I mean? I don't know about that one, but yeah, it was kind of just kind of came from that, you know what I mean?
That's funny. So like being a white DJ, how, like, when you show up in places or people hear you play and it's like they're amazing, then they see you or they hear you or stuff, like how do people react to that, knowing that you're a white DJ in this hip hop and reggae genre?
Oh, back, 20 years ago was a little different, you know what I mean? Like I always call it that pre-Eminem stage, because you know what I mean, like I found when like when I went to concerts in the 90s, it was like you can count the white people at the concerts, you know what I mean, and now it's probably the opposite, you know what I mean, give or take. So it's always been a little element of surprise, you know what I mean, to a degree, but you know what I mean, I've always been someone that respected the culture, understood where it came from, and who are the key people in it, and just respecting the whole genre and stuff. So it was, even if it was a bit of a surprise or a bit of a what the hell, you talk to me, or you see what it is, it comes from a place of like, I've researched, I've done due diligence, and I respect and treat the culture properly. You know what I mean? So I haven't had a lot of stuff with that, you know what I mean? But I'm a big goofy white guy, you know what I mean? Like I come in, like I don't have like the zigzags in my head. I'm not wearing a Gucci outfit. I'm not really that guy, right? So like I come in pretty unassuming, but I've been, I've done, I've been in rooms where I've been the only white guy in many different situations. So I'm very comfortable in any situation, you know what I mean? And I've always been confident of what I do. So people feed off that. They may be like, there's no fear in my eyes. I can go in front of any crowd from the time I started till now, and there's no fear in my eyes. And I'm, you know what I mean? So people feel that energy. You know what I mean? So
yeah, because you've done your homework, you respect the culture. I think that's the thing too. I don't think it matters. I think it's all about just showing your respect and love for the culture. And when you DJ, people understand how how much you've put into this. Like, you
Mhm.
know, music. I've heard you had some amazing mixes. Sometimes
you.
I listen to your mixes and I'm like, he just mixed those two songs together.
Yeah.
So I know that I know you know music,
Yeah,
and
definitely.
especially in this DJ world. Again, I hadn't DJed long, 5 or 6 years or whatever, but
Mhm.
I find that there's a lot of DJs that are just lazy and they copy each other's mixes and they don't
Yeah.
take risks. Like, I remember growing up, like, one thing about growing up in Nova Scotia is like they're fans of all genres of music.
Mhm.
So back then, growing up, you'd have to play pop music. Like, I remember mixing "Achy Breaky Heart" with Hypnotize. Like, people
Wow.
want to hear everything, right? Like,
Yeah.
and so I think it was, people want to know that you put in the time. And I find some DJs these days, it's very, everybody's playing the same mixes. You can predict exactly what's coming next.
Mhm.
So that's what I love about listening to you, man. It's just like, you take us on this journey of all these different mixes, songs you forgot about, the B-side album. And I love that, man. You can tell.
It's a real give and take, especially with morning radio, because, like, you know, I want to go deeper, but at the same time, you know what I mean, they want me to, you know, still be somewhat commercial. So I try to slip stuff in, you know, there to make the, you know, the music lover go, oh, a nice one. You know what I mean? So I'm glad that you, you know, you noticed that, because, you know, I do definitely do something for the people that are a little deeper with their music, but not so much that I'm alienating just the commercial sensibilities of being on FM, you know, commercial radio.
Yeah, and you can take bigger risks, like, you know, for instance, you do, you know, Sugar Daddy's nightclub here, whatever, and, you know, you're DJing every weekend. So there, I'm sure you can take way more risks. It's
a little more, especially after the live tour ends, you can go crazy, you know what I mean? But I got to, you know, especially with a lot of reggae stuff and older reggae stuff, there's a lot of, you know, questionable material and material that maybe is a little more dated now, the thoughts and the ideals. So, you know what I mean? Like I said, playing on radio is like one way, and then playing off radio obviously is a little different.
Yeah, it's kind of like a comedian, you know. It's, you're a comedian on TV and people see you on TV, and you had to kind of have this clean TV show, and then you go perform at a stand-up show and people are like, what the hell? The language you're using and all the jokes you're telling, you're like, but you're on TV. That's not the same. You know, that's what it kind of reminds me of when you're saying that. It's like
R.I.P. Bob Saget. He's like the perfect choice. Like, he did Family. What is it? What the hell? What the show was it? Full House.
Full House.
And then he did America's Funniest Home Videos. Squeaky clean, corny. And then he was like the dirtiest mouth ever. So it's like, I could just imagine these families like, we're gonna go see Bob Saget, and he's sitting there dropping F-bombs and this stuff. And like, what happened to Full House? What happened to Danny Tanner?
That's crazy, man. So like, for you, what you've been doing the nightclub scene for a very, very long time. And like, what do you really like love about doing the clubs and being live with people? What do you love about that?
Just the energy, man. Like, it's, you know, the energy is just being able to control the room and take it the way you want to go, and just that energy you feel from a crowd is just, you know, it's such a high, you know what I mean? So, you know, I love radio, I love doing mixes, this and this, but that live feeling in front of people is just unparalleled.
Yeah, that energy that you get and I love that, like, being able to kind of take people through all this range of emotions. Like, 1 minute they're up and then you slow it down and, you know, reminiscing, remember this. And so, like, with your DJing, are you somebody who, like, have you always been the DJ that's on the mic? Because I know a lot of DJs that don't, they just want to spin. They don't want to talk. Like, have you always been that way, where you kind of just spin and you're on the mic at the same time?
It was probably a gig like in the early 2000s, because I never really did them, like, because back then you didn't really have to, there wasn't miking that much. That's more of like, you know, New York style, and then it's kind of filtered into everybody in the last like probably 10 years or so. Right. And I just remember, I think it was Mink nightclub, which was an old nightclub in Toronto. And I had a residency there on Saturday, and I remember asking the first night, like, who's the MC? And they're like, MC? I'm like, oh, you do it. So I was like, oh crap, I better learn how to do it. So, you know what I mean? Like, I'm a comfortable guy in front of crowds and stuff. So it's not, you know what I mean? It's not always my first thing to do, because I like the style of playing more and then maybe do a couple shout outs and maybe, you know, stop the hype up and stuff. I'm not one of them like yap kind of guy, because my hands are moving and I'm doing stuff, right? Like, a lot of the talky DJs, they're not really mixing. They're just, you know, putting songs in and then, so, you know what I mean? I can do either way, you know what I mean? But I'm not an over talker, you know what I mean? I try to let the skill, do for itself. And like, for the most part, it's like not, it's not been any issue. You know what I mean? No one has ever come and been like to a nightclub and been like, I need more talking.
Right.
So I think less is always better.
Well, in saying that, I think this is, well, you mentioned reggae earlier, and I always thought that reggae doesn't get enough credit for hip hop, and especially the way that the hip hop DJs DJ, because going to Jamaica when I was young, and the sound selectors and all that kind of stuff, and the sounds and the cutting songs off short and mixing and blending, and the setting the song up with what you're saying on the mic, all of that to me, in hip hops comes from reggae in my mind. What do you think about that?
Oh, 1,000%. Even if you go back to Kool Herc, who is credited with creating hip hop, he's from Jamaican descent. He grew up in Jamaica, right. And a lot of that big sound system and stuff comes from Jamaican origins. Absolutely. And the toasting on the mic and everything. So I 100% agree. Reggae is absolutely one of the roots that spawned into hip hop. Absolutely.
Especially dancehall. I mean, now, you have, the rhythms where people would, sing over the same rhythm to see who was the baddest DJ, because it was the same rhythms. It was the same song. It was the same beat. And then you had like things like dances, right? The whole dance culture in Jamaica. I mean, dance culture in Jamaica has been big, but now, over the last 10 years, now you're seeing all these dances in hip hop. So I think hip hop has adopted so much from reggae, and I just think that reggae just doesn't get enough credit for what it's done for hip hop.
I think it goes over a lot of people's heads. You know what I mean? Like I said, in Toronto, I can only speak really for Toronto because that's where I grew up. But like, reggae's always been there. You never went to a hip hop dance and not have a reggae set. It just never happened. You know what I mean? So they've always been so intertwined here. For me, it's just kind of a natural thing to know these things, right? But a lot of places, reggae may not be as big or this and this, so it's a little harder to understand. But Toronto-wise, like I said, reggae's been big here since forever since the start, right? So it's kind of a natural like thing here to kind of realize that those two are so intertwined.
Yeah. So like for you, when you started DJing, like how did you know that you could make a living DJing? Because for me, when I used to DJ, I used to do like some weddings and stuff and do some clubs and, high school parties and stuff. And then obviously like house parties was major in Nova Scotia. Like a Nova Scotia house party was like, if you've never been to one, like the parties were amazing, right? So I remember doing some house parties and stuff. So like, but then it was something that I loved to do because you were in the mix. I grew up in low income housing. So I was lucky that music kind of saved me, and basketball. I was kind of DJ and used to MC a little bit and play basketball. So it just allowed me to go to different neighborhoods that I probably wouldn't have been able to go to. But I always looked at it as, this is something that's fun to do, make a little money. But I never back then, I never thought it could be a business. Like I never thought I could do this for a living. So did you always know that you could, or you were just willing to try, or what?
Well, we always like, that Toronto, New York connection has always been super strong. So coming up, seeing, having Kid Capri tapes, Ron G tapes, we're like, oh man, these guys are making a living off of mixtapes. And then seeing guys on radio like Flex and Chuck Chillout. And so, you can make a living on radio. So there was always like the inspiration from the States that you could do it. Yeah. Even if we didn't really have the infrastructure yet or the way to really make it. And then even like when I was younger, like going to see, of course, starting from scratch, going to see SoundQuest, going to see Ebony Sound Crew, going to see Jake's Aristotle, there was already people, the generation above me or two generations above me, give or take, Carl Allen, like I can go on and on with things. They were already doing it. So there was the thought of like, well, it's being done. So, I can do it because people are doing it. So, there was a blueprint already kind of there. So it was definitely always a thought that it could be done.
That what you just said, I think is really like, we need to pause on that, because what you just said was there was already a blueprint. Yeah. And I think for a lot of people, when we have an idea or we have a passion and a desire to do something at a bigger scale and to maybe turn it into a business or really pursue that passion, we get limited by our own abilities because we're like, I don't know how to do that. I'm not sure I can do it. but almost everything that anybody wants to do, there's a blueprint. There's people who've gone before you and have already done it.
Yeah.
So I think for a lot of us who have this passion and this desire, I often talk about it's not how, it's about who. There's a book called Who, Not How. And the book is all about who do you need to connect with, which mentors, coaches, people who've done it before that you can follow and emulate and buy their courses or their programs or follow them and do it. And I think that is really important because so many people are like, I just don't know how. When there's a million books, there's social media, YouTube.
Especially nowadays, especially. Come on.
Right. So I think that's so important what you said. For anybody who's trying to pursue something, you never have to start from zero. There's already somebody who's done it.
Yeah.
And so I love the fact you said that, man. So then at that point, when you realized that you could do this thing, when did you realize that like you went from making money to like, this is a business and I am a brand?
I would say probably once the 2000s hit, like I kind of feel like 90s were my research and my practice years. And then the 2000s, I took it all and applied it. So, when the 2000s came, I went to high school with a DJ named DJ Sin, and he worked for a very popular promotions company called Brighter Days Entertainment. And they needed a DJ at that point. So basically from 2000, I got hired, and then they were doing three nights a week. So right away, I was doing 3 nights a week. And then I got on the radio, something called Project Bounce, which here was a nighttime. It ran from 2000 to 2008, and it was from 12 to 5 in the morning. It only played hip hop. Wow. And it was the biggest thing in Toronto hip hop, Toronto radio, maybe ever, to be honest with you. We ran the night. We were getting better ratings than all the commercial stations at night. Wow. We launched every artist from that era. You know what I mean? From Drake on up, you know what I mean? So it was definitely, you know what I mean? Like it just the 2000s hit, and then it just kind of, the radio started, the clubs started. So, by the time 2008 came, when I won Toronto DJ of the Year, it kind of, I would say right then was probably the real pop off, because I was able to use that award to start traveling around Canada and just kind of like, oh, you got an award, you know what I mean? Like obviously some people are like, whatever, you know what I mean? But for corporate wise and just the look, having an award like that, kind of put me in a good place. So I would say like, by the time the mid 2000s came, it was rocking and rolling.
That's big. Toronto DJ of the Year is big because this city has so many amazing DJs, worldwide, recognized DJs. So congratulations on winning that, brother. That's major. That really is, that's big.
Thanks, man. I've been able to win a couple of awards. The problem is there's no real awards anymore. So there's not even a chance to win. But in that mid 2000s to early like 2010s, there was a bunch of award shows and stuff. So I was able to at least get some hardware to to hold on to and stuff like that. So
I love that. So for you, right? What are like 2 or 3 major sort of accomplishments or big memories that you have? Being a DJ.
Mm-hmm. I would say the first thing that comes to mind was the first concert I ever went to. It was 1992. It was Wu-Tang and Black Moon. Right?
Wow, I love it.
The 25-year anniversary of that Wu-Tang album, they did a concert in Toronto at Rebel, and I DJ'd it. So like the full circleness of it, like I almost broke down to tears. Like it was amazing. You know what I mean? Like just being like at a concert, like, oh my God, I'm getting to see my hip hop heroes, and then playing that album that came out, playing the concert, 25. It was just an amazing moment. So that's right up there. You know what I mean? Winning awards and just being, recognized in any way, shape, or form. You know what I mean? Is amazing. And and then number 3, I'll be honest, like there's so many things, you know what I mean? It's tough. Like those are the first 2 that really come to mind. And then there's probably like 100 others that I can kind of group for number 3. But like I've been super blessed, and being able to do this for a living for this long and stuff. And it's like, I just, I wake up every day excited, even though I'm tired and this, it's still, I wake up and I'm really excited.
I think my first concert was Public Enemy.
Nice. With
the S1Ws and
good old Professor Griff.
Oh man, I remember that. That was such an amazing concert, and I remember they came to Nova Scotia, and everybody, like the place was rammed. you know, so.
And Toronto had everybody, you know what I mean? Like there was concerts I've seen everybody. There's no, I don't think there's anyone really on my bucket list that I haven't seen.
Right.
You know what I mean? Which is just like the best. Cause that's all I did when I was younger. Like when we were teenagers, just like, oh my God, this guy's coming, Run DMC, this, that, like it was just the best to see them live. And the energy back then, no cell phones. So everyone's actually watching the concert. You know what I mean? It was just like, those memories just are like so amazing to me.
That's awesome. So then now you're doing a bunch of different radio stations. Like how did you land these various radio jobs? Because you're on a couple different radio stations right now. How does that all work? Like how do you find the time? How did you land them, and then how do you kind of manage all that?
Well, it's been a lot easier in the last like 10 years or so because you can pre-tape and just email and stuff like that. So that's opened up, you know what I mean? Like I'm actually on WBLK in an hour and a half. You know what I mean? Yeah. So for the Memorial Day mix weekend. But like having radio experience so early, it's like anything. You get a little experience and you use that to get to the next level. Mm-hmm. So, okay, I had college radio, but it was a very popular college. So that, that propelled me to get to commercial radio. And then after I had commercial radio, I can hit up other markets and be like, well, I'm on commercial radio here. You should check me out. So it's just kind of like, the effect of just, you got to get something first and then make that into something else and just build on it. And then once you get, once you have a bunch of radio stations you've worked for, it's a lot easier to go to whatever and be like, hey, I've done this station, this station, this station. So, I've worked with BLK for 15 years, I've done live tears for them. I've done Shade 45. I have a monthly residency on there. Shout out the union DJs. So I do that monthly, and then obviously Flow and stuff. And then I've done, many other radio stations, just like, quick one-offs or something like that. But once you have a little bit of a resume, if you're smart with it, you can build it into a bigger resume.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, it sounds like you've really had kind of amazing career. Like, what are some because people are like, oh man, this guy, he started young. Everything just seems like it went crazy. And it just seemed like you just had this amazing career. Like, what's a one or two challenges that you've had sort of in your business that you had to kind of figure out?
Well, I think with DJ wise, it's gone from carrying crates to a computer. So I think really the biggest challenge was transferring to the digital age. That when Serato came out, and for people that might not know, Serato is the computer program that you play your music off now. So it went from vinyl to CDs to computer. So a lot of DJs, especially older DJs, kind of got left in the didn't make it to the digital era. I was lucky enough to get into the digital era early and stuff. So, you know what I mean? I noticed it was going that way. And especially doing radio, it's like, I remember being on radio and like other DJs are playing stuff. I'm like, how do you have this? Like, we burned it off LimeWire or Napster or something. I'm like, what is that? You know what I mean? So radio really helped, because if you weren't doing these things, you got left behind.
Right.
Because if I'm waiting for the vinyl to come out, I'm already a month behind this guy who's been rocking the hype tune. You know what I mean? So, I think that was the biggest challenge for sure. You know what I mean? But thankfully, I've always, been around people that, I always keep mentors around. You know what I mean? So everyone from like a Bubba Khan to Mastermind to starting from scratch, these are people that have done it before me and at an amazing level. So, legends. You know what I mean? Like, be able to, pick up the phone and call guys like that and just kind of get advice and this. And at the same time, I've always kept, younger DJs around too, because the 19-year-old DJ now is thinking way different than I even could possibly do. So having that network and dealing with my OGs and dealing with the young kids and always being like that, I kind of get a little bit of everything. So I'm a little bit ahead of the curve, because I get the knowledge from the past, I get the knowledge almost from the future, and then I kind of take both in and try to make it happen. So that digital era really just destroyed a lot of DJs. Yeah, but like I said, I was lucky enough to kind of like get a grip on that early and be able to fight through it, because it's a whole different world. From what I started with to what it is now is a complete 180.
Yeah,
a complete 180. So,
well, I think what you said, it's a good acknowledgement as well. Like the power of mentorships, I think it's so important. And the thing about mentorships too is I think you really described it. You described it well, because sometimes people think mentors are people who have to be much older than you. We can learn from anybody.
Absolutely.
Right? I could learn from a 2-year-old just how to enjoy life. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like we're so like I think for a lot of people, we look at mentors as someone who's much older and so further ahead. And those are forms of mentors, but you can learn from anybody. And that's something that really kind of helped me to really grow my career and become a better speaker and really learn how to connect with audiences like in a really unique way. You know, I remember speaking once, I think I spoke at a Toronto University. And I remember the registrar saying, she sent me this message saying, you know, that she gave me a testimonial. She said, Danny spoke and it was almost as if he was speaking to each individual person.
Great compliment.
And I was just like, I actually started kind of tearing up. You know, I grew up in low income housing, got bullied and all that kind of stuff. And I was headed down the wrong path and all that. And, you know, I never thought that I could connect and resonate with people outside of my environment. So when she said that, I'm speaking at a university, I was like, wow. But that only happened because I'm open to learning from everyone, like everyone. Not just people who are speakers, like anyone I speak to, I can learn something.
Absolutely.
And I love the fact that you said that because as someone who's been in the game for more than 22 years, almost 23 years as a DJ, it's easy. You could easily say, well, I know all this. These young guys can't teach me anything, but you're not.
No,
right?
Definitely not. Definitely not.
I love that.
And I think also just to build on that a little is, you know, taking criticism and being like, you know what I mean? Like I have many people that will call me, yo, man, I think you're slipping on this, or I think this is not so hot and, you know, you should work on this. And I've always been someone that like, I don't mind criticism. Like people will build you up all day and like compliments are great and this and this, but I actually much prefer like, what do you think I can improve more so than what do you like about me? Because you know what I mean? Like I'm, you know, after you've done something for a while and a certain success, you kind of like know where you're at. So you just want to be able to, you know, what can I improve in this and this? Like even when people come to the booth and they're like, you know, you get a drunk girl, or I don't know, I don't like this or whatever. I'm like, why? You know what I mean? Or what do you think I should, you know, I don't take it, you know, offensively, because even, you know, there's truth in even if it's a 2% truth of 100%, you know, 98% crap, there's still that 2%, right? So yeah. I've always been very aware and very much like, I don't take things personally whatsoever.
No, that's really good. That's how you get better. When you've been doing something for a long time, it's hard to see your blind spots, right?
Very much so.
And you get comfortable doing what you've always done. And so taking that criticism can help you be more creative, take things to a different level. So I'm definitely the same. I'm always open to criticism as well.
Yeah, even if I totally disagree, I'll still sit there and think for a second, be like, I wonder why, you know what I mean? Like if some people just hate your face, they just look at you and like, I don't like this guy, you know what I mean? But that's fine, you know, that's what it is. But you know what I mean? When someone has at least something to back up, whether it makes sense or not, it's still, you know, something you can use and you know, maybe puts you on like not a different path, but just kind of maybe, you know, turn a little left or a little right, you know?
Yeah. So I see that you're into producing now, and so what is that like? So is that something that you've always wanted to do? Have you always wanted to produce music?
I've actually been producing for probably like 17, 18 years. It just, DJing just takes so much time. You know, I mean, I call myself the part-time producer, you know what I mean? But the one great thing about pandemic was I was able to like, you know, get a bunch of songs done. I actually have a song coming out next month again. I've dropped 2 songs so far.
I just heard one track on your mixtape on Apple Podcast. You had a new track on there with one artist. I forget what it was.
I think it was probably Flowboy Deuce out of the Bronx, New York and stuff. So, you know what I mean? So I was able to like during those 2 years amount a ton of beats, you know, get started on and things. So that was probably one of the best parts of pandemic for me is I was finally able to, you know, get this production thing a little under control. I finished 4 songs. I've released 2 so far. I got the next one coming out, like I said, next month or so. So it's been nice to be able to like do that. And you know, if I tried to do it now, it'd be impossible with my schedule. So, you know what I mean? That was a great thing about pandemic. And I've always wanted to produce and put out songs. And a lot of my States DJ friends are always like, you got to put out music. You know, it's not a point of having the platinum thing and just put out music and just add it to your catalog of a DJ. So I took that advice in and, you know, and during pandemic, like I said, I banged out a few songs and stuff, and you know, like they said, they ain't gold or platinum, but you know, like you got getting some hits out there, doing all right.
Yeah, it wasn't. I love the track that I heard. So,
Thank you.
What have you learned about yourself over the last, since the pandemic? What have you kind of learned about yourself as a man, as a person?
Definitely to smell the roses. Like, I mean, I think, especially when you work for yourself and you own, you're your own business, you get so tunnel visioned in the work It's being able to take a step back and, what I mean? Like, I'm married, you know what I mean? And like, so it's like, just spending more, some time with just remember, spend some time with the family, take a night off. Because I'm the kind of guy, like, we'll put on a movie at night and I'll take out my computer, start working at the same time. Or, you know what I mean? Like, it's just, you know how it is. It's 24/7, right? So really just smell the roses a little bit. But like, what I mean? I'm just so focused on winning, you know what I mean? And it's the same with what you do is like, there's no, we've made it. You go here, now it's like, all right, now I can go here. Now I can go here. There's no, you know what I mean? Because my wife's a teacher. So we talk about this often is she's maxed out. Like, she's done all her courses to get as much as she can, and this is whether she does bad, good, does a crappy job of teaching, a great job of teaching, this is what she's getting paid. You know what I mean? Where it's like, for us, it's like, you do a crappy job, it's going to reflect in your money. There's just no, you know what I mean? I'm not saying she does a crappy job.
No.
But I'm saying though, like, it's just the exact opposite. So, you know what I mean? That's always been a real blessing with my wife, is to have, does the opposite. So it's
So how does that work? Because you're an entrepreneur, and she's a full-time teacher. How does that work with you all in terms of your relationship? Like,
we always laugh and say the key to marriage is let's never see each other. but she, like, as a teacher, it's the perfect job because she has 2 months off. She's done it 3. You know what I mean? Or 3 or 4. So it's like, it's not a bad look for a DJ, you know what I mean? But it's like, DJing's ruined every relationship I've ever had besides my wife, because it's a very hard thing to say, okay, you're going to work all week and then you're going to spend your weekends alone. And if you don't spend them alone, you have 2 choices. You go out with all your married friends and be the 5th wheel, the 9th wheel, the 3rd wheel, which makes women feel terrible. Or anyone. Well, it's fine now and again, but you know what I mean? There's only so much you can do. Like, everyone's coupled up and you're sitting there alone.
Right.
Or you go out with your single friends, you're at the club, and then there's, all this stuff. So it's a very hard sell as a DJ to, a woman. But thankfully, my wife, who I actually known since high school, we were just friends then. We got together way later, but she got the program and she was down with, with everything. So I very much lucked out, because it's not an easy, relationship wise, it's not an easy sell to a woman, for sure.
So what does she think about your career and everything that you're doing?
Oh, she's the best, man.
First of all, what's your wife's name?
Shanti.
Shanti. What does Shanti think about all of this?
She she's cool, man. Like, like, she's always, because when she came, she's known me since high school, so she knows the love and the passion from then. When we got together, I was already rocking and rolling and moving. So she's never known anything different, except for the pandemic, right? So she's always known that, okay, weekends, we can't do it. This, that, like, it was always just, but she's always been cool, man. Like, I can't lie. Like, she, it's the best thing that ever happened to me, hands down, because we can be at dinner and I can get a phone call and be like, you know what, I got to go deal with this. And it's cool. Like, there's no, there's no real, because she knows what it is. And I think to have a successful marriage, you have to accept those things. Because if she didn't accept it, we wouldn't have this is our 12th year of marriage, right? So
congratulations.
Thank you. We wouldn't have lasted, right? So, like, we had very honest conversations when we started dating and stuff. Like, this is the way it's going to be, and there's no changing. There's nothing I can do. Like, this is the way I make my living. So, thankfully we were mature enough. Like, we didn't get married till we were like 32, right? So we, what I mean? So a little later, to the point where, like, we're a little more know what we want, and we've always been very honest with each other of what it is. So now it's just habit. Like, you know what I mean? Like, R.I.P. my dog. He died like a month ago, but
sorry,
the dog, yeah, horrible. But anyhow, like, so my dog would be like, we're getting another dog in the new year. But like, she just got to the point she'd rather just hang out with the dog at night, and you know what I mean? Like, just kind of, and just kind of chill out and stuff. Like, she comes out now and again, but she's kind of done with Ritz. You know what I mean? She put in her time. You know what I mean?
Well, but what you're saying is really, I've had the same conversations with my wife. It's like, I think this is really important for people to understand. When you find what you think is your calling, when you find what it's not your passion, when you find your purpose and your mission in life, there are going to be times when you have to make decisions about various relationships.
Yeah.
friendships, partnerships, and all that. And, you know, for me, I've always been someone who's been dedicated to helping people find that champion inside. I've always done community work. You know, my first job ever at 14 years old, where I got a paycheck, was from Parks and Recreation, coaching 4-year-olds and mentoring them on how to play basketball.
Nice.
So it was my very first job on paper. Now, fast forward, you know, 30 some years later, I'm still coaching, but coaching in a different way, life coaching, business coaching. So when I met my wife, it was the same thing. I'm going to be out here. I'm going to be inspiring people. I'm going to be traveling. I'm going to be standing on stages. Yeah. Maybe on TV, maybe radio, whatever it is. Can you deal with that? Because there's no decision to be made when you find the thing that you're meant to do. If somebody's not on board with it, it usually doesn't work out. So
it always doesn't work out.
I can relate. Like, when you find the mission and the passion, nothing can stop you. Nothing can get in the way of you pursuing it. And I'm so happy to hear that, you know, your wife has been rocking with you for so long and supporting you, because we all need that. We all need that support.
I'm a full believer you can't be a king without a queen. You know what I mean? So that's, you know, that I'm fully like, you know, it's just good to have the female energy, a different take. And like I said, my wife's very opposite of me. Like she, you know, her favorite band is Bon Jovi. Right. You know what I'm saying? Like, so, and you know, I mean, and she's not like, you know, when we go out, if I'm getting like a little bit of, you know, like, oh, it's Ritz or this and this, like she's not even into that stuff. You know what I'm saying? So it's a nice like reality check where I come home and it's like, oh, guess what? You know, this is, oh, that's nice. That's nice. You know what I mean? Like she's not really into the hoopla and all that stuff. And she, you know what I mean? She just wants to be on the side, and she don't want no, you know, she doesn't care about the new 50 Cent song that came out or this and this. She, you know, she's just like, it's a good, for me, it's like a good yin yang kind of, you know, opposites attract. Like we have the same core values and you know, same likes, but when it comes to like, you know, job and career, it's totally like completely opposite. So, you know, it's a nice to see the other side, because especially with nightclubs, you get so engulfed in that lifestyle, like it you know, 90% of it's bad or sketchy, right? Yeah. So to have that home, like all her friends are, you know, normal, if you will, like, you know what I mean? Just regular folks doing the thing where all my friends are DJs and promoters and, you know, I'm living the fast life and this and this, right? So to have that balance at home, especially, is just like, I think that's what is a real key to my success, to be able to come home and not be Ritz, if you will. You know what I mean? You know, he would leave him at the door and just come in and just be like, you know, just be the Craig, the husband.
Yeah. That's great, man. That's so amazing. And I think it's so important for people to kind of understand, like, you don't need permission from anybody to pursue what you want. Yeah. If you're passionate, like sometimes we expect other people to believe in our hopes and our dreams. And you and I are lucky that both of our wives do, but I've had so many people doubt me over the years, and it's fine. But we have to stop expecting other people to believe in our dreams more than we do. And you just got to focus on what you're trying to do. And I often tell people this, like when I was writing my book in 2014, I told a couple of people and they kind of like, yeah, you know, they laughed, right? And then I said, okay, here's the title. And they were like, whatever. And then I said, here's the book cover. And then I showed them the website, and then I showed them the Facebook page, and then they got an invite to the book launch. Nice. And I think, you know, I think progress, I say this all the time, but progress equals belief for yourself and for other people. There's a point in your life where you want to do something and you think you can do it, but you're not fully sure. And then the more progress you start to make, the more you're like, man, I can do this thing. Yeah. And then the more other people start to believe it. And I think for 22 years, it's like you just made up your mind where people had no choice but to be like, he's doing it. So what can I say? You know, and I love that. Yeah. Because so many people are waiting.
I've converted many haters, for sure. People are like, I don't know about this guy, but you know, you're totally right. You know, if you keep working at it and stuff, like at some point, you be like, you know, even the most critical person's got to be like, well, he's kind of doing it. You know what I mean? Like, you got to give me some props. You know what I mean? At least something.
So what's next for you? Like, what's a big dream that you have?
Well, I guess I can announce it now because it's officially being announced on the 1st. But I just got the producer job for the morning show. So I just
Wow.
I signed a contract literally yesterday.
For Flow?
Yeah, for Flow. Yeah. The morning show.
Amazing, brother.
Yeah. So now,
Congratulations.
yeah, thank you very much. So that's been just another check mark on my radio resume to be more than a DJ, to be the full-time producer of the morning show and stuff like that. And just keep it moving, man. Like, there's so many new opportunities. Like DJs now are everywhere. Like, you go to a McDonald's and there's a DJ and like, so it's a really exciting time to be a DJ because there's so many more opportunities. Granted, there's so many more DJs, so many more this, that, but the opportunities now are like, and people know what a DJ is. Like when I used to tell people 20 years ago, what do you do? I'm a DJ. They're like, what? Like weddings or like, what I mean? It couldn't even go. But now, you have the DJ Khaled's and all these DJs, what I mean, that I'm kind of like, now everyone knows what a DJ is.
Mm-hmm.
So it's I think the DJ culture is still evolving so much. It's my goals change every year. Like I didn't think I'd be on satellite radio, you know what I mean? I didn't think I'd be a part of a big, States DJ crew. And so like, you're kind of driving and then it's like, oh, this opportunity. So let me, you just keep changing lanes. So it's like with DJing and production, I want to pursue more and stuff as well. And of course, radio's always been there. So, but everything's evolving so much. It's very tough to see the future, I find, with DJing because it's evolving at an insane pace. Mm-hmm. So I just try to, I'm more of a 2-year plan guy. I try to think 2 years ahead, what I mean, as much as I can. And like, obviously in terms of like, me and my wife are already, we already have our retirement planned and, working towards that as well. So we're definitely, in terms of life, I think far ahead. In terms of career, not as far ahead because I find when I have, it's just so many things have changed. Like when I started, if I could never have thought that I'm DJing off a computer. It's mind-boggling.
Yeah.
That I have everything on my computer. Right. So it's like, so if I, anytime I've had these long, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, everything changes. Radio stations come and go all the time. So it's like, okay, I'm just going to do radio. Well, this station went down, now I'm done. And then, okay, this one comes up. And so it's, I think with at least, the DJ entertainment field, there's this such movement and such growth at all times. It's, it's hard to plan too far ahead, but definitely want to, like I said, with adding this to my radio resume is definitely, something, I just want to keep building on that. And then, just, keep killing the clubs and keep, just keep doing as much as I can.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. And DJing has come so far. I mean, you look at Ellen,
Yeah, Ellen has a DJ. Yeah.
Twitch was a dancer / DJ. This guy was on the biggest TV show in daytime, and now his name is known in house houses all around the world. Right?
Like Donahue never had a DJ. Oprah Winfrey never. Like this is once again, it's all new. You kind of have to have a DJ now. So
the Roots. Look at the Roots. Know. Like,
exactly. Yeah, the Roots on Jimmy Fallon. Like for people that come from the early Roots, like that's unbelievable. Right. That they are on a prime time show and they're involved and they talk. Like, it's unbelievable. And I'm sure
Questlove won an Academy Award.
Yeah, unbelievable. And I'm sure I listen to his podcast. I listen to everyone's podcast. So I'm a big podcast guy. So even in Questlove's podcast, he's mentioned the same things. Just like I almost can't believe it sometimes. Like we started out, drumming in a basement, and now he's on Jimmy Fallon. Like it's, that wasn't even an opportunity back then. So for him to plan ahead, it wouldn't have even been feasible to say I'm going to be on a talk show. Like, imagine Johnny Carson coming out and like, here's Grandmaster Flash, my DJ. It's like, it wouldn't, what I mean? It wasn't even a thought. So I think the doors are opening so crazy right now that it's like, it's always good to plan ahead, but given the industry, that sometimes there's only so far you can plan ahead with what's going on.
So let me ask you, like, we got a couple more questions here, but let me ask you, like, are DJs really competitive? Like when you hear another DJ, have a really amazing set, do you want to do better than them? Or if you're sharing the same platform, you're at the same club, do you come out and they set the crowd on fire? Do you come out wanting to do better than them? Like, is there competition amongst DJs?
Yeah, I think you have to be competitive in this space, regardless, right? But I'm more of like, I take a piece of what someone does. Like that's why I still go out now and again. I talk to DJs all the time just to kind of get the vibe of what's going on. Cause the first rule, like when we, and you could attest to this from our era back then, you never bit a mix, you don't copy, you don't do anything. That you take it and you put it into your own flavor and you do your own thing, right? So DJing's always been competitive. Now it's like it's more about like, you know, the undercutting and you know what I mean, and that kind of stupidity. But you know what I mean, thankfully I'm established enough that like people aren't expecting to call me and offer me $100. You know what I mean? They kind of, you know, I've kind of thankfully
got to come with a little bit more money, people. You got to come with just a little bit more if you want DJ Ritz.
Just a little bit, just a little bit. So it's always, it's a competitive sport. You know what I mean? Because there's no governing body, there's no anything. It's like, are you better than you, or are you more liked than you? So you know what I mean? As much as the skill and stuff, you still have to be cordial, have a good personality, be approachable, and you know, be someone that, you know, at least most people kind of like. You know what I mean? Like it's very much a you know, an art form where the skill's one thing, but you have to have personality and you know, and be somewhat likable, because no one wants to hire someone they don't like. You can be the best DJ in the world, but if you're someone that people don't like, then it's, you know, it don't even matter.
That's true. That's true. Wow. Well, I got two final questions that I ask all of my guests here, Ritz. Right. And the first question is, what does grind mean to you?
Grind means just like all in. You know what I mean? Like, to me, grind is a word that like is synonymous with what I do. Like, I am always on the grind. I am always pushing. I am always thinking. I am always trying to get better. Like, for me, grind is a 24/7 kind of thing. You know what I mean? So whatever it is, like, I'm all in, like I said earlier. So that's just the grind. Life is a grind. You know what I mean? Like, you know, just nowadays, especially with everything going on and, you know what I mean? Just, you have to be on the grind. Be it, you know, you have to be on a life grind. You have to be on a husband grind. You have to be on a work grind. Like, grind is, you know, whatever you call it nowadays in 2022, you know, words, grind is, working hard is the least you have to do now. The least. Like, forget about being good and all this stuff. The least you have to do is grind. So grind is an absolute, like, daily, you know, a daily thing for me. Daily. It's always there.
I love that. And what does gratitude mean to you?
Gratitude, like, it's very important. You know what I mean? Like, I think, you know, and once again, going back to what I said about the pandemic, smelling the roses a little, just having more of that word. You know what I mean? I think that word has been a little lost on me at certain times of my life, where it's just, you get so focused and you don't really do that much, right? So I think that is a very important word. And I think nowadays, with everything going on and stuff in the world, like, you know, it's very good to stop and have some of that and really, you know, really just reflect on the good and, you know, even the bad, you know what I mean? But just more, you know, just be thankful.
Well, Ritz, man, thank you so much for being on the show, man.
Thank you.
Such a great conversation, brother. You know, I think we need to have more conversations like this, share our knowledge, be open to learning from each other and growing with each other. And that's why I started the Grind and Gratitude show, just for people to learn, share, and grow. So appreciate you taking the time to be here, man. I know you're a busy brother and you got lots going on, but...
Can you edit out my bags? Is that possible? Like, I don't know.
Can't do anything about that, bro.
I just want to say quickly, though, I super appreciate coming on. And the day I met you from Jay Martin, who, you know what I mean, who has become a good friend of mine and stuff. And we weren't really close before the morning show, but we've become very close now. And I've realized with him, anyone he deals with is always like really proper. And he always spoke highly of you. And since the first day you came in, I've been a fan of yours. I listen to your podcast and everything. And you know, I think you have you have a great voice, great knowledge and everything. So I'm more than appreciative to be here. Like, you know, I don't do a lot of these things just because I think, you know, most of the people asking, like, I wouldn't say don't deserve it, but don't, you know what I mean? Like, it's got to be a mutual, always respect and stuff. So, you know what I mean? I very much appreciate what you do. And you know, I'm very, very happy to be on this. Thank you for asking me.
Oh, thank you, brother. Much respect. And thank you for your kind words. Let everybody know how they can connect with you and get in touch with you.
Well, I guess nowadays the two easiest ways would be Instagram, which is at DJ Ritz, which is, thank God I got it right away before I had to do .to and you know, all this business. Website, I wasn't as lucky, djritzent.com. You know, quick story, I had djritz.com. It expired. I took 2 days to redo it and someone already took it. And then they hit me up and said, give me $1,000 and I'll give you it back. So anywho, if you just Google DJ Ritz, it all comes up. So djritzent.com, website, always updated, everything straight. And then Instagram for those, you know, those daily activities.
And to check out over 200 mixes that you have on SoundCloud, DJ Ritz on SoundCloud. Mixes are amazing. I'm always listening to them.
Yeah, I just
Yeah.
got rid of about like 60 of them because I was getting kind of, like too much.
Yeah.
I'm gonna try to keep it around 200-ish.
Wow. Well, thank you, man. Again, thank you so much for taking the time. Like you said, I really respect what you do, not
Thank
just
you.
in DJing, but just what you bring to the culture
Thank you.
and your love and your passion to see people win and want to make people better. So I really appreciate that, brother. And for those of you who are tuning in, make sure you check out DJ Ritz. Anybody who's looking for a DJ, you know where to find him.
Right?
But thank you all for tuning into the Grind and Gratitude show. And we will catch you in the next episode. Take care, everybody.